we have created an array with the file names of all the images that we are taking for the slideshow. And there's a variable created for the current slide index number. Okay, so initially we set the current slide to 0. So we created it using current slide. The variable name is current slide equal to 0. And then the next function, slide func function. So it increments the current slide by 1 and reset it to 0 if it reaches 3. Here what we have done. So once it reaches to 3, it's automatically resetted to the first index, which means again it shows the first image. In my case, image 0. And make sure you have given the correct the source file, the extension. Okay, it can be the PNG or JPEG according to yours. Provide the file extension properly. And here, so the slides I have been using, the ID slides is this. So this is the HTML part. So by the onClick method, I have passed the slide function to the onClick method. So once we click on these images, so that it will work. Simply what happens here is the value of the source property of the particular image tag is changed here using the array of the file names we have used previously. And the onClick event is used to change the slides. The event is trigger. Yeah, please share your screen. Okay, very well. Now, what happens here is I have taken two buttons called next and previous. So when I click on next, it goes for the next image in the array. If I click on previous, it goes backwards. Now what happens here? Let's see. Right. So these are the styles we have used. Before I explain the styles, the CSS, I'll go with the script part, explain the logic behind this. This is the script, body, and the HTML code is here. Right. Now, initially, I've told you there are two buttons for the next button and called next button and previous button. Right. In the script section, you can see there's something called slide number, which is set to 0 initially, and next slides variable that is points to the class to which all the images belong, and that allows each image to be selected using the slide number. So we have documents.get element by class name, not ID. We have take the output using class name and the slides. Then we have a function. Function first func slides slide number dot style dot display block. What happens here? This function runs when the page loads and makes the first image visible. Okay, there should be something to display first, no? So that is done by here. When we initially load the page, this loads the first image is visible using this function, right? And here, function slide next. So we have slides, slide number dot style display none. If slide number equals to 3 and slide number is 0, which means we have reset it to the first image, else slide number increments by 1, then display block. Now the function display the next slide by making the current slide not visible. Okay, that's what happens when the function runs in this part, the style.display none. So the function display the next slide and make the current slide not visible. And also it increment the slide number and make that slide visible. The second slide visible. That's what happens when we click the slide next button. And the other way around, slide previous button. So when we click on the previous button, that makes sure the previous slide is visible by blocking the by making it not visible the current slide. And it makes sure decrementing it by 1. If the slide number equals to 0, then it makes sure to slide number goes to 3. Otherwise, slide number is decrement by 1. So the slide number, which means the current slide, display as block. It's not visible. Is it clear, darling? What happens with this blocking and, so simply the slide next button make sure the current slide is not visible and make sure the next slide is visible. And when we click on the slide previous button, make sure the current slide is not visible and making the previous slide is visible by decrementing it by 1. Here the decremented part and here's the incremented part. Is it clear or you want me to make it more clear?
Can I explain one more?
Okay. Now let's break this into smaller parts then. I'll add some comments. Now overall, this scripting part controls slideshow with next and previous buttons. This is the overall scenario. And the variables means what? The memory locations that we are using, right? So the initially the slide number that tracks which slides we are currently showing. Okay. And next, we have let slides equal document.getElement by class name the slides. So which means this gets all images with the class the slides. So we get not on ID, we get on class name. So with the class name, what? The slide. Then we have a function. Now is this part up to this point clear? The slide number and the slides class.
Yes, miss.
Okay. Then the first function, first func slides within bracket slide number dot style dot display blog. Now this make sure when page loads, it show only the first slide, which is slide 0. If it start index 0, according to the indexes, it shows only the first slide. And we have a style. So this change CSS from display none to display block. So display none means it's hidden, and display block means make it visible. Okay, I think you remember the CSS parts we have done. So when it runs, it's automatically finishes loading. This is just, in seconds this happens. So this is the loading part. Clear?
Yes.
Right. Then next function is slide next function. Here. Okay, we have function slide next. Slides slide number dot style display none means it hides the current slide. Then if slide number equals to 3, which means if at last slide, if the slide number is at the last position, which means 3. If we have taken 3 slides here, which means it is in the last point, go back to the first slide. Slide number equals 0 means you have to go back to the first slide. Okay, so I will add some small comments. Hide the current slide. Then here, this checks if at last slide make sure this goes to if only this at last slide, then we have to go back to first slide. If it's not, what happens? Else slide number plus plus, which means otherwise go to the next number. Yeah, next slide. Now normally up to third point, up to the third slide, this happens. Once it reaches to the 3, this will enables. Then this happens. So it's continuously rotating. So slide number dot style display equals block means we have to show the new slide. The code shows the new slide. That's all. Is it clear now?
Yes, miss. Clear.
Okay, very good. Then slide previous. Now you can try out this. What happens here? Now earlier in the slide next function, hiding means we are making it invisible using CSS, right? So it checks whether are we at the last slide, slide number 3. If it's yes, go back to the first slide, which is slide 0. If it not, just add 1 to the slide number, increment it by 1, which makes it to go to the next slide. And we show the new slide, whether it's the first slide or the next slide, whatever it is. So we are blocking it. Okay, now what happens here? Slide previous. We have slides, slide number dot slide, display none. What is it?
From the none, it's hiding the current one.
Okay. Hmm.
And from slide number 0,
It checks if.
it's in the first slide.
Okay. If it at first slide, then what?
Then it's going to the last slide.
Last slide. So before the first slide, if we click on the first slide, the previous button from the first slide, it should go to the last slide. Yeah. Else?
Else,
Now
it's
here,
decreasing.
yeah, it's decreasing by 1, which means we have to go back back 1 number. Yeah. So I'll make the comments here as well. Hide the current slide. Now this check if at first slide go back last slide. Otherwise, go back 1 number to the previous slide and make it visible. Is it clear now?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the scripting part. And here, so there's this onload function. What happens in the onload event? When the page loads, the onload event occurs. So the first func should loads, no? Make the first slide visible. Not clear? First function is what? Here this no. So I told you at the initial point, when we load the page, the first slide should be visible. So that is done by onload function. Oh, sorry, onload event. How come the first function works? With this event. Clear?
Yes, miss.
Then next we have the body. Inside body we have the topic inside H1. Then we have a div. So all the images are included here. So they are all belong to the same class. So they can be selected as they are in an array. So we haven't put this inside array like this inside the script, but we have put it inside a class, the slides class, and we can use this as an array. And here are the buttons for next button and the previous button, and the events for the on-click events for the next button and the on-click event for the previous button. So when you click on the next button, the on-click event occurs and slide next function works, this particular function. And once you click on the previous button, slide pre button, the slide preview function works. Is it clear, darling?
Yes, miss.
And these are the styles which we have used, the slides. So the slides class, so these are the styles for the slides. That is initially set the display property to none, so the slides are not visible immediately, right? Not all the slides, no. So we have written a function there. And for the previous button and the next button, we have position absolute, top, padding, color, background color gray, font weight bold. Then for the next button, both previous button and next button are the same. And for the next button, we have put it right 50%. Let's see. So the same styles have applied to both the buttons. Only the next button is set to the right position. Okay. So once we click on, now here, let me load it first. Okay, this is my first slide. And this is my last slide. Look, this one. Now, when I click the next button, it goes to the first slide. And using the previous button, if I click on this, once I'm in my first slide, then it goes for the last slide. So this is the function we have written. Clear?
Yes, miss.
Okay, shall we quickly code this as well?
Okay.
So, so this is a good practice that we need to have when it comes to answering questions in the question paper. So we use a variable called slide number here to keep track of the slide number. So when the next or the previous buttons are clicked, And if statements in the function checks if the slide number has reached 3 or 0, it works. If it does, it reset the number. Otherwise, the slide number is incremented or decremented. That's what the function written. So the techniques of creating alternative page elements. So in this case, we have used images now, and then showing or hiding them by changing their display property. That can be used to implement a number of very different web page features. So we will be discuss those kind of examples later. So you need to have basic idea on what is happening now. That's why I have put a lot of effort on this regard. Okay.
Yes.
All right.